Hey guys, James here from TCG University. Come back at you with another deck profile. Today I'm going to be showing you the Suzaku that was played during the Campus Championship. Make sure to check that out. Make sure to check the Campus Championship out together as well. Make sure to check out the other profiles from the Campus Championship. And as always, let's get into this. Okay guys, Suzaku is a 7-hand size 20 Vitality stacker character with Evil, Order, and Air. He has 3 abilities. Respond after you block with a card named Suzaku. You can add it to your staging area. And then gain 3 Vitality. And then enhance. Your charge attack gets, or your gauge attack, not charge. Your gauge attack gets plus X speed or plus X damage. X equals the number of characters in your staging area. And then first enhance, discard 3 attached characters. This attack gets +7/+7. So it gets 7 speed, 7 damage. But only if you have all of your characters on board. So obviously, it was 0 mid blocks, it makes it very easy to block and move. But if you're ever partially blocking something, you're going to take Vitality. And then this kind of like offsets that. So we'll talk about some of the gauge attacks. We'll talk about getting the characters on board first. We have 4. Here we go. Here we go just says enhance. We can either add a character to our hand, which we then block with, gain 3 Vitality, yada yada. Or enhance, just straight up add one. The other thing it is a 0 low block with Breaker 2, which is also very nice. We have one Albion. I personally would probably play this at a 3 or a 4 of. Just having the ability to add your Suzakus back to your hand and then block with them and then gain 3 Vitality is super nuts, and having the ability to always do that with Albion on board is great in my opinion. 4, Lightning Torture. Lightning Torture is the best card ever printed for any gauge character ever, for any gauge symbol really. It's a 4/3, 2 mid for 4 throw with gauge 4 that gets +3 damage if there are at least 2 characters in your staging area. Like with Suzaku, you block and add a character practically for free, so you never have to worry about not having the characters. And if you do, your opponent always has to interact with this because it's a 4 damage attack, and it's always going to do damage, so you always get that momentum as well. But the keynote is here, every time you at least build 2, this thing's always going to gauge a character unless they have specific throw hate. Then we got 2, Graceful Rouge. Graceful Rouge is a gauge 3 low for 5 reversal. During the opponent's turn, if it deals damage, your next card will ignore progressive difficulty, and then enhance, you can commit a foundation to give it stun 2. This card's super good. I thoroughly love this card. And all the gauge characters as well, especially at like a 4 of, because it makes your opponent have to interact with it or allow you to get a character. And with stun 2, it just slows your opponent down and they're forced to interact with it, which just me, like I said that twice because it's very important. They have to interact with this if they don't want you to get characters, and then if they don't interact with it, you just have your next card free, you stun them out, you gauge your character, you did whatever else you needed to do, and it just puts you in such a good spot. Then to take advantage of having more characters in our staging area, we have Lightning Shot. Lightning Shot gets stun X equal to our characters. So at max it becomes stun 4. And it has gauge 3 on its own. It's a weird number to have for a 4 damage 4 attack. Then it has a 1 high block. And then its other ability, which I also believe is very good right now, is after it's a response in the card pool that after your opponent raise 1 or more of their foundations due to their effect, you get to flip one of them. So if you're having trouble with your opponent's Sensimorals, you just start committing things, and then every time they raise something, just go, flip it. And then you never have to worry about their cards because they don't do anything ever. Then we're playing 2, Storm of Torment. Storm of Torment says it can discard itself after being played if we have at least 2 characters. And then the other ability is discard momentum, search for a character, and stack it to our character, which just speeds up the process. It has gauge 4. It's a 5 mid for 5. It's a 5 div, becomes Desperation 4. Has safe, so we don't ever have to worry about getting reversals ourselves. It just does a whole lot, depending on like how you play your game. And then we have 2 Rouge Signet. This is one of my favorite attacks from Amy support. It's a 4/3 with a no block. It's a 2 mid for 2 with gauge 1, meaning they have to full block this. And this card says we can play it a second time if we have at least 2 characters. And then it gets plus damage for each one of our characters. So being a 2 mid for 2 by itself, you can just sling it and go, hey, do you want to block my 2 mid for 2? If you don't, I get a character. If you do, you wasted a card. And then if you ever get a character later on the turn, just go, I'll play the Rouge Signet again. Because I'm allowed to. And then it gets more damage. And it just progressively just gets worse and worse for your opponent. Then we have 4 Dust for Dust. A lot of decks that play a gauge that need more attacks in hand to play our next card, I recommend playing Dust for Dust. This card is extremely underrated, especially in our gauge format. This card is a gauge 5/6 diff with no block. That's one of the least favorite part is you play a lot of no blocks in my opinion for life and order symbols to try and gauge. But it's a gauge 5 damage 4 mid weapon 6 difficulty 3 check. If we have at least 2 characters in our staging area, it ignores progressive, so we don't ever have to worry about how when we play this in the chain, we just always drop it late as long as we have the 2 characters. And then its ability is to search for 1 gauge attack and add it to our hand. Our opponent can commit and freeze a foundation to cancel. They have to commit and freeze, which means they have to commit and freeze a foundation, meaning they have to have their card to be able to commit and freeze it. So if you ever, when I play a bunch of gauge decks and I play Dust for Dust, I like to stun my opponent entirely out, play this as the last card and go, cool, you're not allowed to commit and freeze something, so I'll search for free. I'll add another Dust for Dust. Can you still not commit and freeze? I'll search another one. And you just ring them out at the end. The goal is to get to play 6 cards in your turn and play Prism Stormer Torment. It is a 7 diff with a 1 low block, 7 high for 7, gauge 7, deadlock stun 7 if you ever get there. If it's the 7th card you attempt to play during a turn, it passes for free and then gets 7 speed. And then enhance, you can add all characters from your that share a name with your character to your starting character from your discard pile. Meaning if you basically play this, first enhance, ditch all your characters to make this a 14/14, or if this is the 7th card you play, make it a 21 for 14. And then go enhance, I'll stuff them all back. So that way when you play your next card, like for whatever reason, play a Dust for Dust afterwards. And then you can give this 7/7 and not have to worry about things. This card's super strong when it goes off correctly. Now to search our gauge attacks, we have 3, Leader of the Saintly Beast. This card is a form destroy. You get to look at the top 5 cards and add 1 gauge or character to your hand. A lot of times you'll like gauge attacks because you're trying to push in, or in our case with Suzaku, you may want to add a character just because you block and you get to gain life. The other ability says we can discard momentum to shuffle back in cards that get raided by our opponent, which is also very good for like Sense of Moral Hate and stuff like that. But we have to discard that momentum. This card's really good inside the style of this deck, which is Radical Edward. Anytime this is checked, we get to pick up a character from our discard pile, which just leads into us blocking for free, practically blocking for free, and then attaching it and gaining 3 life, which is very nice. And then the other ability is we can commit 1 asset or foundation with a keyword on it, which just means we get rid of problem assets, Swordfish. We'll get rid of Owl Shield, Elk Shield. We'll get rid of Manus Neas. You get rid of all these cool assets and foundations that just cause us problems, and then tap down their board. Then we're playing 3 Prism 7. Prism 7 is a 2/5 that has the ability to give our charger gauge attacks +1 speed. So it's just free speed buff, as well as if we ever have our characters removed with things like Fatality and whatnot, because that's a good way to counter gauge characters is to remove their characters if they ever check them. We can add a character from removed from game pile to our hand or momentum, meaning we can give it to be fuel for something else or just add it straight to our hand. And for Suzaku, block and gain 3 and add it to our character. And then we're playing 4 Bearer of the Mackay Whistle. Bearer of the Mackay Whistle says we can flip it to give -2 to a gauge rating, which just makes it easier for our attacks to hit and gauge. And then we can search our deck for a character and put it into our discard pile from our deck. This just means we can dump a bunch of characters, know we're not going to draw them, but know where they are when we need them. And then it's also a spam with a 6 check, which is also very nice. Now we're going to get on to the things that don't necessarily function towards the gauge and the character building aspect of the deck, but really function more towards the defensive side. We have 2 Omega Sword and Elk Shield. I like this card when playing Dust for Dust just because it says we can commit more things in our opponent's staging area, which means they're not allowed to commit things for like Dust for Dust. As well as this is a practical free 1 mid block that lets us only take 1 damage. That also says it's a 1 diff for a 6 check, which is super good. We have 2 God of Thunders. We are playing Dust for Dust, so we have to make checks on 6s, which means we're at least committing 1. Dust for Dust just says, God of Thunder just says, we destroy a foundation ready card, and we don't have to really worry about the 1 committal we have to make if we check well. If we check bad, we have to start committing, and we have to start popping a lot of things, but Hopefully the idea is they die before we run into issues. Same thing with Tijuana. It's remove 2 foundation, you get to ready it. Super strong on its own, good defensively and whatnot. But with the Dust for Dust play, you can commit this when you check a 5 to make it a 6, ready it back up, and not really have committed anything in your board, which is super good for us. We have 2 as well as low dull. We don't really want our opponent playing abilities to negate our abilities, so we play this. It's remove discard momentum. After your opponent plays a non-character responsibility, we can cancel it. And then our check a 5 after your opponent adds a foundation to their staging area. During the combat phase, we can commit that card, meaning they just don't get to keep it for that turn. We just won't have to deal with it. We have 2 Betrayed by a Family. It readies during at the start of our opponent's turn. It's a 2/5 that says if our opponent ever reduces the speed of our attack or the damage of our attack, we just commit a foundation in their staging area. We get to choose, which is really nice. But it also says that we don't have to. It just says that we get to stun them more out for the Dust for Dust. We have 1 Last of Its Kind. Last of Its Kind is a 2/5 card that we mainly just use for the enhanced lose 2 vitality. This attack is -4 damage, minimum 1. This works really well when we're partial blocking, and then we're going to gain life. We just dump the attack very low, and then we half block, take even less, then gain more than we took, and kind of just come out on top for that. We have 2 Passing the Torch. Passing the Torch is one of the better cards that come from the DLC packs. Not DLC packs, but the demo decks. It's a 2/5 with a 3 mid block that just says enhance draw card, commit draw card, or if you have no card to hand, draw 2. Just getting plus hand size is very nice. We have 3 Mally, protects us from stun. It's a 1/6. If we ever commit it for our abilities, our opponent's forced to commit, and has a nice solid 2 high block. Then we have 4 Never a Day Without Training. It's a 1/5 with a nice 2 low block that says flip, we can discard a card, draw a card, or flip if we have 1 or more assets, draw a card in general, which is just plus hand size or just deck funneling if we need to. And then the last card in our deck is another 2 low block in Ageless and Wise. Ageless and Wise is a 1/5, like I said, with a 2 low block. We don't use the Raid Enhance because we're not raiding, but the Enhance just says we get to protect one of our foundations from being destroyed, either be Toguro Brothers or anything else that we just would have a problem with. If it would try to force our cards to leave the staging area, we just cancel it. Thanks again for checking out the profile, guys. Remember to let us know what you guys think about the Suzaku deck down below. If you want to support us, go to patreon.com/TCGUniversity. If you subscribe at that $1 level, you'll get to see all the events live. You get the access to our Discord. If you want to hit the $5 level, you also get added to our sponsors list. We say those on all the podcasts and whatnot. So make sure to check that out. As always, guys, stay alert.